And a good Saturday afternoon to you in the capital city. I'm Darren Gaucher, and today starts a new program on Talk 107.3 FM. It's a tasty mix we like to call Tech Gumbo. And joining us, as will every week, are guys who know more about tech. They have forgotten more about computers and technology than any of us have ever known. It's James Moak and Haggai Davis from Gulf South Technology Solutions. Gentlemen, it is great to be here on the maiden voyage with you on Talk 107.3 FM.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Now, James, Haggai, let's find out more about you. James, you are the head man at Gulf South Technology Solutions. Tell me about yourself and your business.
Well, I am the president, CEO. I take out the trash. I fix problems. I do a little bit of all of it from time to time. But, I've been in technology for a little over 20 years now. We started the company, it'll be 10 years in February. And we're basically a one-stop shop for the technology needs of not only small and medium business, but also some government agencies as well as a few enterprise customers that we call that have 1,000 users or more. So
you would know a thing or two about securing a network, for example.
Absolutely. We know about securing the network. We know about designing and implementing and maintaining those networks as well.
And, of course, we'll be talking with you about security and end-user experience and industrial and business uses. So it's going to be a whole lot of different topics that we're going to talk here. And, of course, a guy that you have in your organization that a lot of us have come to know here on Talk 107.3. A lot of folks in the community know him from his civic activities. Talking about Haggai Davis. Now, Haggai, you are one of James's, you're like his right-hand man almost.
I'm the director of sales.
And what is it that you're called on to do on a daily basis?
Mostly what my job at Gulf South Technology Solutions is to go out and find new customers, work with our existing customers to, if they're having issues with their network, they're looking for more productivity, better productivity. If you are interested in, if your Wi-Fi system is getting kind of old and need a new Wi-Fi type thing, then I get involved. It's mostly the design of new networks and or improving existing networks is mostly what I do.
Now, guys, how complicated is that? Most people, when they sit down at their desk at work, they just want the computer to turn on, have access to the Internet, and work so they can do their work. How difficult is it designing a network, implementing a network?
It's really not as hard as you would seem once you've had 27 years in the industry like I have, and 25 or more years as James has had. It's keeping up with the technologies. It's keeping up with the way the trends in the industry are going. We both go to a lot of conferences each year to continuously stay in touch with the latest and greatest, the newest, and we try not to stay on the cutting edge because that can get messy out there. But we do like to be on the
bleeding edge, some people say.
The bleeding edge, yeah. Then there's the cutting edge, there's the edge, and then there's the handle. We're somewhere between the edge and the handle.
Okay.
Because we don't want the bloody, messy, really stuff that people are still inventing and fixing.
Sure.
I mean, yes, I do have a Windows 10 computer. That's the bloody bleeding edge because it's a real mess.
James, how do you put up with Haggai all day being on that bleeding edge? I mean, he's got to make a mess sometimes.
Well, and occasionally he does, and whenever he runs down the hall to my office with this mess, I send him over to our technical services group on the other side of the building.
So it's a fairly expansive operation that you've got going on over there.
We're not just two guys working out of a pickup truck. No, we're a real business. We have over
it was
20...
good enough for Michael Dell,
Well, yeah, and now he has, 20,000 employees?
Exactly.
We have over 20 employees spread out, throughout South Louisiana, so that we are big enough to where we have resources, but yet still small enough to be very responsive.
Now seems like a good time for the plug. All right, tell everybody where they can get in touch with you.
Well, they can reach us at 225-216-2169 or at www.gulfsouthtech.com.
And the website's full of information. You can find out about these guys. I want to delve a little deeper, though. Earliest memory, James, of a personal technology product and one that you went, wow, this is neat. I want to be associated with this.
Oh, I guess it would have to be my first experience on the bulletin boards, which was which was way before CompuServe and AOL and anything else here in town. There were only a few at that time, and we all had 9600 baud modems and those kind of things.
Yeah.
And so I might be dating myself a little bit, but I've come a long ways, as has the technology.
I'll date myself too. Do you remember the Louisiana Shuttle by LNB?
I absolutely
the
did.
dial-up bank. You see, if this were television, you'd see him grinning from ear to ear, because I remember the bank set that up, and my father worked at L&B, and I thought it was the neatest thing. I wanted to buy a computer, and when I finally got the courage to tell him, hey, I'd like a computer so we could do that Louisiana Shuttle thing, he goes, we're shutting that thing down. We're not making any money. So I was crushed. I was thinking, here was the future. They've just destroyed the future. Little did we know. Awesome. Haggai, earliest technology memory.
1978 or 79. I think it was 79. One of my teachers in high school, my calculus teacher, I guess it was, he had bought a Tandy computer. The hard drive was literally a cassette player.
Yeah.
And it had a little monitor, and he could enter some strokes on a keyboard, and he would run the program on the cassette tape, and all it could do was math. It could do math, and then he'd pull out that cassette and put a second one in, and he'd type in your name and have it auto. He'd hook a speaker up to it, and it could read off your name. Now, it butchered my name pretty bad, as you would imagine, but John Smith and those guys, It was amazing, and that was late 70s in type thing, and so that was my first real experience with any kind of real technology, and it was just the coolest thing at the time.
See, I was going to tell y'all transistor radio, but you're from a whole different realm than me. I remember my first computer, I had an Atari 400 XL, and the reason we got it is because it had game cartridges in it, and you could stick it in, and it was closer to Pac-Man's actual arcade look than the Atari Pac-Man. That's where my head was, and that's where my dad's head was at the time, and we're like, what do you use this keyboard thing for? We don't know what that's for. Hey, here's where the joystick goes. So it was a whole lot of fun back. We've come a long way. We really have. Like how much computing power was in the Tandy or in the computers from that era compared to what we have now?
Oh, you can't even begin. We're talking it was doing 1, 2, 3 plus 1, 2, 3 kind of things versus, the simplest little pocket calculator that you get for free anywhere is 1 billion times faster, smarter, and more complex than what that was doing back then.
Oh, yeah, there's more computing power in the cell phones these days and the smartphones than computers that it would take to fill up a room. We're doing that same type of computing power on a mobile device, whether it be your phone or a tablet or something like that these days.
Literally, the smartphone that you have, whether it's an iPhone, Android, or Windows phone, those phones have more computing processing power than what took Apollo 11 to the moon with.
That is incredible. Because I never thought this phone would take me to the moon, that's for sure.
Oh, it's 1,000 times.
I get mad at it sometimes. I want to send it to the moon.
It's at least 1,000 times faster and stronger than anything than all of the computing processing power that was on Apollo 11.
Floating on a tin can.
Absolutely.
Of course, there is a theorem behind this, a law. James, what is Moore's Law? How do you explain that? Is it every 18 months?
Moore's Law. Gary Moore was the founder of Intel. And
I thought he was host of I've Got a Secret, but that's another Gary Moore. Okay, there you go. All right.
He was the founder of Intel, who figured out back in the 60s and into the 70s that processors, you could get more processing power every 18 months. It doubled its speed. And throughout the 70s, the 80s, and 90s, and most of the early 2000s, it has held true that they're able to double the amount of processors or of chips on a chip, and so that the speed has literally doubled and doubled and doubled. And they're getting to the point now where you have billions on a single little 1 inch by 1 inch chip inside of a computer. You have billions and billions of processors, and it's getting to the point where, in the articles that I've been reading, they're not going to keep doubling it. Moore's Law is coming to an end as far as the number of processors on a chip. Now, that doesn't mean technology is not going to continue to advance and double at that rate. So Moore's Law is kind of pivoting and going to, sidestep the amount of processors on the chip.
We've reached a point of diminishing returns, in other words.
Well, not really. I mean, the biggest challenge they've had over the years is actually keeping these processors cool. Mm-hmm. And so now, in the last few years, they've been able to accomplish that. And that's why you see more and more faster processors in these tablets, because they've figured out a way to do it. They can make the processor smaller, but also cool them by using different materials to make those, as opposed to having a fan like you would normally have in a traditional PC.
Like a liquid cool.
So, well, and so they're going the liquid cool route, but in these PCs, they're getting so much information on a small chip till the chip doesn't run as hot, and so therefore they keep it cool.
Truly amazing.
Heat is the biggest enemy of any computer.
Oh, you smell that burning electronic smell, and you're like, oh no, what is going on? My computer VCR, I remember VCR dying that way. That was not cool at all. All right, we're going to delve more into the wonderful world of tech. This is the inaugural broadcast of Tech Gumbo. James Moak, Haggai Davis, and me, Darren Gaucher. Glad to have you with us on Baton Rouge's local talk leader, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP.